Hey guys, welcome to my first YouTube video. In this video, I want to teach you what I think the easiest way to cook a steak is. Let's get started. For today's cook, I'm going to use a 1 to 1.5 inch thick ribeye, as you can see here. About that thick. Alright. The most important thing you want to do is pat the meat dry. Because if you don't, this moisture will just eventually steam the ribeye when you cook it. And make sure you do that on both sides. Alright, so now once you have your meat nice and dry, you want to season it properly. Make sure you get a good coating of salt on there. The ribeye can actually take more salt than you think, so go a little heavier than you normally would when you season anything else. And then, of course, season both sides. And then, now I'm going to season with pepper. Here. This ingredient, if you ask different people, they might season with pepper, they might not. Some people say the pepper can scorch when you cook it. I like the pepper on the steak because I think it'll get nice and toasted and you get the nice toasted pepperiness. So I'm going to go ahead and season with pepper. Again, like the salt, you want to season the pepper on both sides of the steak. And make sure you get a good coating on it. Also, another thing I forgot to mention is make sure you season the sides of the steak too, so that essentially every edge of the steak will get seasoned. And then there'll be seasoning on your board or your surface. Just mop that up with the steak. Get a nice good seasoning on everything. So the way we're going to cook this steak is not the traditional method of pan searing it. We're going to actually reverse sear, which means we're going to put it in the oven for about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the thickness, of course. And we'll sear it in the end when we take it out. For my steak, like I said, it's about 1.5 inches thick. So we're going to put this in the oven for about 45 minutes at 225, which is what I have my oven preheating at. And as you can see here, I have a rack under my steak, and that will help circulate the hot air around the steak, which make it cook more evenly. If you don't have a rack, it should be okay. Just do it without the rack. So we'll put this in the oven. So actually, I had to bump my oven up to 275 and put it in there for 45 minutes. And so after that, it's gonna look something like this. It's gonna look kind of like this grayish color. It's gonna look kind of gross, but don't worry, we're gonna sear it up. So over here, I have a carbon steel pan. What you want to use is some cast iron pan or a stainless steel pan, something heavy duty, because you want it to be able to retain that heat and give it that nice sear. And I'm going to put this on a medium to medium high heat. We don't really need it to be that high because this steak is already cooked to 120 degrees. So we just want a nice sear on the outside. While this is heating up, I have some things here that I'm going to add later on when we're searing this. I have about 4 tablespoons of butter here. 4 tablespoons of butter. I have 5 cloves of garlic. And then we're going to add this to the pan later when we're ready to, when we're almost done searing, to baste the steak so we can give it a nice garlicky butter flavor. Okay, so we have our pan nice and heated. It should get a little smoky, and if our oil kind of ripples like this, it's ready to sear. So when you get the steak on, you actually want to hear a nice sizzle. If you saw a sizzle, take it back out and let it heat up. So I'm going to go ahead and toss our steak in. That's how you cook it. So again, like I said, we're going to have this sear. I'm going to bump up the heat a little. We're going to have this sear for probably just about a minute. Again, because the inside's already cooked, so we're not expecting to cook all the way through. Alright, so it's been about a minute. I'm going to go ahead and cook the steak. Look at that. It's nice and brown. There's actually not a lot of splatter happening because there's not a lot of moisture in that steak. So let's give this another minute, and at the end of that 1 minute, we're going to throw the butter and the garlic into the pan, and we're going to start basting the steak. And it's going to give it the nice, like, toasty, buttery garlic flavor that you get when you eat steaks at restaurants and things like that. So at this point of searing this, I'm going to start throwing in our butter, and let that get nice and brown. And with that, the garlic around. And yes, you do need that much butter because you do need that much butter because we want the butter to get nice and brown, and you want to have enough so you can start going in and basting the steak like this. And what the basting will do is kind of brown up the spots that weren't really that brown before, and add a flavor and add texture to the crust. We're going to do this on both sides, so we're going to do this for maybe about a minute on this side and a minute on the other side, and the steak will be ready to take out. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and put the steak. You see it's nice and brown. We're going to carefully flip it. Look at the color on that. Super nice and brown. Again, so we're going to finish this off. We're going to go ahead and baste this real quick. Make sure you get it from edge to edge so you get this everywhere. So, I think we're done here. We're going to take this out now. We're going to take this out. We're going to shut it off, and then what we're going to do is take these garlic. We're not going to just leave it in the pan. We're going to take this out, put it on top of the steak. Just like that. And then take some of the garlic butter, drizzle on top of the steak, and then now we're going to let this rest 5 minutes. Alright, so we have our steak rest for 5 minutes. So look at the color on this. It looks nice, doesn't it? So, okay, most people, what they will do is just slice it up. What I like to do is two things. First, I like to take off the bone right here. Just going to slice the bone off. Just like that. And then, the second thing is, I actually like to take the cap off of this ribeye itself. So that everyone can, everyone you're serving the steak to can enjoy every piece of the steak equally. So we have four parts of the steak. So we have the rib part, we have the rib cap, the eye, and then this is the part that was kind of attached to the rib here. So for the eye, what I like to do is just slice it up. You don't want it to be too thin. Kind of maybe half-inch thick steak slices, like that. All right, let's take a look at one. So look at that, nice and medium rare, and nice and juicy. That's what reverse sear steaks, give you. So this part, I just like to slice it in little chunks like this. So let's move this down. And then for the rib cap part, I like to just do it in, again, like maybe 1/4 inch, half-inch thick slices, since they're a lot fattier than the eye itself. This will give everyone a piece. In my opinion, I think this is the best part of the ribeye itself, and then the rib I like just leaving it whole. And so what I like doing to top it all off is just a little flaky salt at the end on everything. Just a little bit more. And yeah, that is reverse seared ribeye steak. Let's give it a taste. Alright, so let's give this tasting right here. Let's try this ribeye here. Let me show you. Look how rosy pink, medium rare and juicy that is, right? So it's nice and juicy and tender. Let me just cut a piece off so it's not too big. Alright, we're gonna go try it. Cheers. Yeah, the steak is very delicious, very juicy. Cooked perfectly to the temperature I want, 120 for medium rare. This is all thanks to reverse sear. It allows me to take it to the temperature nice and slowly, so it keeps it nice and juicy. And then searing it off in the pan with the butter and the garlic adds a nice brown butter and roasted garlic taste. And then the flaky sea salt just adds a nice crunch at the end. You know, this is a good way. I know it takes a long time to cook, but it's a good way to control the temperature of your steak so that the margin of error is low. So if you never cooked a steak before, or if you cooked it, you're not really good at cooking steaks, give this method a try, and let me know how it goes. So if you like this recipe, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If there's something you want me to cook, let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.